Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David. This episode is for UFC 308 Topuria V Holloway. Let's start off. Let's start the card off in a way that has now become really understandable. The best way to start a UFC pay-per-view is essentially robbing somebody in broad daylight on the first fight of the night. I didn't think it was possible. I don't remember the last time the first fight of the night started off so terribly from a scorecard perspective, but we got it. Essentially, the judges tonight weren't even Abu Dhabi judges. If you look down the list of who came tonight, they were all Vegas Apex judges that came to the event and proceeded to ruin this fight card. Now, the fight card turned out to be amazing. Great fights, great finishes. A bunch of narratives got formed based off the fights. But the scorecards kept coming up in my head because I'm just an OCD level person when it comes to these things. And we start off with Fakhretdinov versus Leal. Fakhretdinov versus Leal. Fakhretdinov isn't some big name superstar. In fact, I don't even think this crowd could have heavily influenced these judges. There's moments in these fights in the night where the crowd were obviously going for the person who leaned most to Islam. But beyond that point, this wasn't as though the champion of the world was fighting in the first fight of the night. No, this was Fakhretdinov. It really wasn't that important. Let's start off with the first fight of the night. I think I got my point. I think I made my point. Fakhretdinov versus Leal. This is a 30-27 to Leal. My card is 30-27 Leal. If you want to be cute, if you want to be really, really liberal about it, 29-28 Leal. But it's 30-27. We start off with the first round. First round, Fakhretdinov had 2 takedowns. He proceeded to do nothing with those takedowns. Leal outstruck him by 8 strikes. He outstruck him well in this round. He got up from each takedown. He outstruck him on the feet. This was his round. You go to the second round. Fakhretdinov had a takedown at the very end of the round. Very end of the round. He didn't get a takedown up until the very end of this round. But he got outstruck by Leal. He got outstruck by 13 plus strikes. He got outstruck by a bigger margin than he did in the first round. And he had 1 less of a takedown than he did in the first round. If it wasn't 2-0, I'm scoring this and I'm watching it and I'm thinking, oh, this is 2-0. And the commentary, we'll get to the commentary. There's pockets of the commentary that were just really bad. Now, obviously, they don't affect the scorecards, but in terms of how you feel about a fight and how you perceive a fight, they were absolutely disgusting. In this fight, they were correctly showering Leal with praise of, look how well he's doing on the feet. Look how well he's deterring the takedowns. Look how well he's getting up from when he is taken down with ease. The commentary is doing a good job on setting up Leal as he's winning this fight. Like, objectively speaking, he's winning this fight. And he's doing well. You go to the third round where Leal has a takedown and he outstrikes Fakhretdinov. I don't know what else to tell you. Outstrikes Fakhretdinov by about 4 plus strikes. He gets the takedown in this round. Leal gets the takedown in this round, and he outstrikes Fakhretdinov by about 4 strikes. He lands less. He lands less strikes, or excuse me, he outstrikes Fakhretdinov by less in the third round than he does in the first round and the second round. Yet in the third round. The cute thing in the third round is at the very end of the third round, Fakhretdinov lands like a collection of strikes that make it look as though he won the round because the round is kind of sloppy, when that's just not the case. But again, if you want to be really liberal about it, you can give him this last round. If you want to be cute about it. Objectively speaking, he doesn't win this round. We go to the judges' scorecards where this sets the tone for how bad the judges are. You know, in my head, it makes me think that when you score it this way, it makes me think whoever is the A side, depending on how you want to look at it, is going to get the favorable nod, and it's really fucking it's really disgusting because there are certain scorecards that just shouldn't come out this way. They really shouldn't come out this way. All right, we go to the judges' scorecards, and they're just all bad. They're all fucking bad. David Leatherby has a 29-28. He gives the first round to Leal. Okay, so he sees what I'm saying, where he's getting taken down multiple times, 2 times to be exact, and then Leal outstrikes him by a pretty big margin, and he understands that. Yet, he then gives the last 2 rounds to Fakhretdinov. It makes 0 sense. Explain this to me. The last round, you can be cute with, so I won't go crazy on that, even though it's wrong. He gives the last round to Fakhretdinov. The second round, he gets taken down less, Leal does, and he outstrikes him by a bigger margin, yet he gives the round to Fakhretdinov. It's just bad scoring. It's really bad scoring. Honorable mention, first of all, to all 3. David Leatherby, Hadi Muhammad Ali, who gives a 30-27 to Fakhretdinov. Terrible, trash. 30-27 to Fakhretdinov. Garbage. Honorable mention to him. Honorable mention to Mike Bell. Terrible judging. Terrible. Gives the first round to Fakhretdinov. What is he watching? He gives the second round to Leal, and then gives the third round to Fakhretdinov. It's bad. It's really fucking bad. And that set the tone on just how terrible the night was in terms of scoring. We go to the next honorable mention. Basharat versus Hugo. 30-27 Basharat. Pretty fucking clear. Basharat outstruck Hugo in the first round by 7 strikes. He also had some ground and pound. In the second round, Hugo had a takedown. But Basharat outstruck him. He outstruck him by very few strikes. He outstruck him by 3 strikes, but Hugo did nothing with the takedown. Essentially, the round is Basharat outstriking Hugo pretty routinely and steadily. In the third round, Basharat had 3 takedowns with ground and pound. That's the win for Basharat. You go to the judges' scorecards, and again, they're just goofily all over the place. When I heard anything other than a 30-27, I wanted to break my TV screen. Mike Bell has a 30-27 to Basharat. That's correct. Hadi Muhammad Ali and the David Leatherby are just stupid. So honorable mention to those 2. Hadi gives the first round to Basharat, last round to Basharat, gives the second round to Hugo. No. Nonsense. And then Leatherby gives the last round to Hugo. This is one of the worst scorecards of the night. He gives the first 2 rounds to Basharat. He gives the last round to Hugo. Guys, make it make sense. The third round to Hugo. Make it make sense. So Basharat has 3 takedowns with ground and pound. 3 takedowns with I don't know what he's watching. I don't know what he's looking at. But he gives the last round to Hugo. What was it? Is he just giving it to him for pity? What's the purpose of scoring it that way? How do you not look at that scorecard and go, "Hey, bro, you're off for the night, bro. You're done. Go home. Go get a drink." Because this is just terrible. It's bad. It's garbage. Super, super garbage. Honorable mention there. It's stupid. You go to the next honorable mention, okay? Go to the next honorable mention, and it's Rebecki versus Orolbai. Now, I will say that this fight didn't get spoiled for me, but someone alerted me that this was it was a fight of the night. It was a banger. It was an amazing fight. And so I was like, all right, fuck, when I watch this, I have to lock in. And lock in I did. Rebecki versus Orolbai. I had this 29-28 for Rebecki. First round for Rebecki, last round for Rebecki. We'll get to that in a second. Second round for Orolbai. In the first round, if I can find it real quick. In the first round, Rebecki outstruck Orolbai by 8 strikes. He didn't get dropped at the end. I'm thankful they didn't count that, but he didn't get dropped at the end. He just kind of slipped. In the second round, Orolbai outstruck Rebecki by 2 strikes, and he also had a takedown, so there you have it on that. And then the third round is where, if this were an Apex fight, it probably ends up being a split decision as well because no one's paying attention, but there's a reason why it shouldn't have been a split decision, and it's one defining factor is he got fucking dropped. He got fucking dropped and milked for a little bit. I'll explain. Rebecki had 2 takedowns with ground and pound, and he dropped Orolbai. He dropped him. That's the singular thing. Okay, who gives a fuck if Orolbai? Who gives a fuck if Rebecki runs out of cardio? This isn't a cardio kickboxing class. This isn't a fucking. This isn't a marathon. It's not a sprint. That can't be the reasoning for scoring. This for Orolbai. It just cannot be. So Rebecki had 2 takedowns with ground and pound, and he dropped Orolbai. While if I can find it real quick, while Orolbai had a reversal, he also had some ground and pound of his own. Not a lot of ground and pound. Not a lot, but not a super effective ground and pound. He was also tired as well. And he outstruck Rebecki on the feet by like 3, maybe 4 strikes as well. So there you have it on that. You go to the judges' scorecards, and Ben Cartlidge, his scorecard reflects mine, 29-28 to Rebecki. Saul Dumont, his scorecard reflects mine. And then Jacob Montalvo just decides, fuck it. Rebecki ran out of he ran out of steam. So therefore he wins the round. No. Orolbai got dropped bad and was dished out crazy amounts of ground and pound. Nonsense. Honorable mention to Jacob Montalvo. He gives the last round to Orolbai. No. Ridiculous. We go to the next honorable mention, and this is where the crowd, and this is where sometimes I think these judges are so fucking shit. How in the world are you letting the crowd influence you? How are you letting everything influence you? The crowd is just screaming Shara Bullet, screaming Magomedov, whatever the fuck they're screaming. And the fight I'm referring to is Magomedov versus Petrosyan. I give the first round to Petrosyan. The second round, it ended in a TKO win for Magomedov. Guys, it's maddening. The crowd is going crazy for Shara Bullet. I'm scoring the round. Petrosyan's winning. Petrosyan's winning this round. He's winning this round. You know what this feels like to me? This feels like essentially O'Malley versus Munoz, Pedro Munoz, where Pedro Munoz is outstriking O'Malley, and yet some judge, Saul Diamante, gives the first round to Sean O'Malley. It makes no sense. It didn't happen. It's a lie. And if you say it happened, you're lying and you should be investigated. We go back to this round, okay? The first round, Petrosyan outstrikes Magomedov by 21 strikes. Okay? Most of them are leg kicks. Most of them, if not almost all of them, are leg kicks, but he outstrikes him. Yet the commentary is glazing. They are kissing. They are eating the butt cheeks of Magomedov for some weird odd reason, because he lands a couple nice strikes on the feet, and yet that determines the winner. That seems to be the narrative. We'll get to that later on. But 4 heavy strikes compared to 70 billion medium to low level strikes is much more effective in a lot of these judges' eyes, and it's really gross, and it was really on display tonight. It was really, really, really fucking on display, and it was gross. The commentary is kissing. I mean, Anik ends it with saying, what a strong round for Shara Bullet. He has the strike numbers in his face. Speaking of strike numbers, we have terrible, terrible journalists. Aaron Bannister, whatever the fuck his name is, and Kevin Iole. Kevin Iole, who can't score to save his life. Aaron Bannister, who can't score to save his life. Just scoring these cards willy-nilly. They must be listening to the commentary scoring this, because they're not really analyzing this at all. They're just tweeting away whatever and deciding, hey, that guy looked really nice at the end there. He won. It's really fucking atrocious. It's really atrocious. Those Twitter scores should be banned from being shown up to the screen, especially while watching these fights. But that's what happened. We go to the scorecards from the judges, and they just all three. I've never seen this before. All 3 of them score it wrong. Tony Weeks, Jacob Montalvo, Saul Diamante all give a 10-9 to Sharabullet. Sharabullet Magomedov, they give him a 10-9. He got outstruck by 21 strikes. He got outstruck pretty heavily in this round, yet they gave it to him because he's jumping up and down and his hair is flowing and the crowd screaming Sharabullet while he lands 4 strikes that are heavy and gets outstruck by a huge margin. Miss me with that shit. I can't fucking watch. I really can't watch this shit anymore. After I saw the Leal robbery, I almost wanted to kill myself. After I saw the Leal robbery, I literally went to go take a shit and breathe for a minute. And you know what brought me back? Is Bruce Buffer almost collapsing from saying Holloway's name. In my head, I was like, why doesn't he just take a deep breath? Just take a deep breath. Just breathe. Just breathe, bro. He was dying. Max. Oh, he was dying. I was like, dude, just take a breath. I promise you, the production will keep up with him. He can just take a small little breath. They're on pay-per-view. They can take as much time as possible. Anyways, that's what brought me back. That's what brought me back to life. What didn't bring me back to life is Ankalaev versus Rakic. It was an okay fight. It was all right. I do believe Rakic should have won. But I don't think it's like a robbery. It's really not bad. Ankalaev versus Rakic. It's a 29-28 for Rakic on my scorecard. I give the first 2 rounds to Rakic, last round to Ankalaev. I put a close marker on the second round. You go to the first round. Rakic outstruck Ankalaev by 8 strikes. Again, mostly leg kicks. I was very surprised again by commentary how they were just saying, by the start of the second round, they were just saying, oh, the first round was close. And I'm like, no. I keep going back to the Apex, but if this were an Apex fight, bitch, there's no way this is close. Rakic is winning the first round. Cool. So you go to the second round. Rakic again outstrikes Ankalaev. He outstrikes him by 3 strikes. The problem is that he outstrikes him and it's not convincing. What I mean is he outstrikes him and these leg kicks aren't heavy. They're kind of, how do I put this? He outstrikes him, but the strikes coming from Ankalaev are much more heavier. This kind of reminds me, the way I'm looking at this reminds me of, how do I put this? Maybe, what's the name? Gaethje versus Fiziev? Yeah. Gaethje versus Fiziev, where there was that second round where Fiziev is essentially outstriking Gaethje, really. But the strikes coming from Gaethje are just stupid heavy. Now, it's like this, but in a much smaller fashion, with more leg kicks and occasional head strikes from Ankalaev. So I compare it to that round, really. But I put a close mark on the second round. I have no problem with it being scored to Ankalaev. You go to the third round. Ankalaev outstruck Rakic by about 11 strikes. Most of those were essentially just Ankalaev clinching up with Rakic and hitting him from there. So very entertaining fight from Ankalaev and Rakic. That's where you get my 29-28. You go to the judges' scorecards. Here, if I can find it, and I found it, and all the judges scored it the same way. Saul Diamante, Jacob Montalvo, Tony Weeks all had it 29-28. They gave the last 2 rounds to Ankalaev, and then Whittaker versus Chimaev. Chimaev wins. I thought he was going to lose. It's 5 rounds. He said, fuck going long in 5 rounds. I'm just going to sub Whittaker and break his jaw. And then I saw the photo with his teeth, and it was terrifying. But that's not why I'm happy. I'm happy because as soon as he won, I immediately thought to myself, we don't have to see Sean Strickland fight. We don't have to see that nigga fight. We don't, and it's not because I hate Sean Strickland. I like Sean Strickland. I think he's funny, blah, 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 blah. But boy, do I not want to see him fight. We get to see Chimaev versus Duplessis, and I pray we don't get hit with the steez where the next fight getting announced is Strickland versus Duplessis. I hope it's The next fight being announced is Chimaev versus Du Plessis, and Sean Strickland can be the backup fighter, and if he doesn't want to, then go sit down somewhere. But this is why I'm happy, because we get a fresh new matchup, and I can continue parroting the narrative that it wasn't close between Du Plessis and Sean Strickland. It definitely, I don't believe it was close. I mean, it's close in the sense that it's a 48-47, but it's not close in the sense that you can argue the other person won, but that's beyond the point. We get to see a different matchup for Du Plessis, and I found it really interesting that throughout the night they just kept saying, who can really beat this guy? Who can beat, and Anik held his tongue, but he just said title shot. He didn't want to say, well, maybe Drickus has a different opinion. He didn't come up to bat for Du Plessis. He didn't give the alternative perspective, which is, do you really think Drickus is going to get taken down like that? No. Maybe if you play it in your head, does he get taken down like that? Sure. I just don't think he gets subbed like that. I really don't. And if there's a person who's going to run out of energy in a 5-round fight against Du Plessis, it has to be Chimaev. It has to be. Now, I could be wrong. I could be stupid wrong. But I'm putting my money on Du Plessis. I'm putting my money on him. We go to the next honorable mention, and this one hurts my soul. It hurts my soul because, again, the fight ended beautifully, but the scorecards, again, come to mind, and they mess with my head. Topuria versus Holloway. This fight ends on third round by KO. Amazing job by Topuria. My scorecards read really correctly. Let's not even play here. Correctly. The first round for Holloway. Second round for Topuria. Again, please, someone take away these fucking Twitter scorecards. These guys can't score, man. They can't score. First round for Holloway. Topuria had a takedown in the first round. Didn't matter. Holloway got up relatively quickly, and he outstruck Topuria by 10 strikes. He was outstriking him this first round. Second round, it was a little back and forth-ish, right? But Topuria barely outstruck Holloway, but he outstruck him enough to where this is definitively Topuria's round. Topuria won the second round definitively. I know my counter says 2 strikes, but he outstruck him pretty definitively. The commentary made it seem like, he was. They didn't specify this, but they made it seem like he was up 2-0. But then, when they came back from break, they were kind of like, it's close. We can see it this way. We can see it that way. They kind of downplayed it. Whatever, that's fine. The Twitter scorecards were just retarded and all over the place. They made no sense because they never make any sense. We go to the judges' scorecards where they could have fucked this up. They really could. They could have stole this. Before the knockout, I had it 1-1. They really could have flubbed this if this went to decision. Mike Bell, he gave the first 2 rounds to Topuria. What the fuck is he watching? What is he watching? The first round should have gone to Holloway. Honorable mention. That's bad. Ben Carlo, same thing for him. Honorable mention. He gives the first 2 rounds to Topuria. Again, still nonsense. And then David Lethaby is the only one who scores this correctly. He gives the first round to Holloway. He gives the second round to Topuria. Good job by David Lethaby. And that's all we got. I'm so thankful I'm caught up, and I'm thankful that I finished this card. On to the next one. Thank you all for listening, and God bless.